It's funny. Sometimes the most revealing documents we get for these deep dives aren't the big political reports or economic forecasts. Sometimes it's something incredibly specialized. Like this. We've got a company profile, some promotional materials from a firm called Malak Injaz Contracting Company.
Or Ocha for our Arabic-speaking listeners.
Exactly. And at first glance, you might think, okay, a construction company. But when you really start digging in, you see it's a blueprint for how modern, truly resilient infrastructure gets built, especially in these high-stakes, incredibly ambitious environments like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
That's the perfect way to put it. We are going way past the general idea of construction today. Our mission here is to take these documents, and they get really technical. We're talking crystalline waterproofing, carbon fiber reinforcement, and unpack what it all means. What is the level of expertise? What are the core values? Really, what does it take for a firm like this to become a key player in KSA's massive projects?
We're basically looking at the science behind what keeps these giant structures standing.
Precisely. The molecular architecture of resilience.
And it's interesting because for all that complexity, their central motto is actually pretty simple. We saw it everywhere. Let us build excellence together.
Excellent.
And excellence here, it doesn't feel like it's about looks. It feels like it's about endurance.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What are the foundational principles they're building on?
So according to their own profile, it all rests on two main pillars: innovation and integrity.
Okay.
And innovation here is more than just a buzzword. It's not just about, buying the newest crane. They're very specific about a focus on R&D, on constantly adopting cutting-edge tech, and importantly, sustainable practices.
Which makes sense. With something like Vision 2030, being environmentally responsible isn't a bonus anymore.
It's a requirement. It's the price of entry for the biggest, most important jobs.
So that's the forward-looking piece. But integrity, that second pillar, that sounds like the bedrock, especially when your job is to protect assets worth billions.
It has to be. I mean, when you're dealing with structural safety, with longevity, trust is everything. It's non-negotiable. They talk about transparent, ethical, and fully compliant operations, accountability at every single level. And that's what lets them partner with governments, with global giants.
Right, because those partners need proof. They need documentation that you're meeting the absolute strictest standards.
Exactly. So you have technological ambition on one hand and strict ethics on the other. That's the whole operating contract right there.
That's a great distinction. Okay, so let's move from the principles to the actual work. The first big technical piece they highlight is what they call mastering the shield, advanced waterproofing. Now, to a lot of people, that just sounds like, I don't know, putting a tarp on a roof. Why is this so incredibly critical, especially in a place like KSA?
Because water is the silent killer of buildings. And in the Gulf, it's not just wet. It's often saline, it's corrosive. If you fail on waterproofing, you're not just looking at a bit of cosmetic damage. You're inviting catastrophic structural failure. The water gets in, it rusts the rebar inside the concrete, and the steel loses its ability to carry the load.
So it's a constant battle against decay.
A silent, ongoing war. And in that climate, with humidity, with saline soil, you need multiple layers of defense.
Okay, so what does that defense look like? What kind of specialized tools are in their arsenal?
Well, they, of course, handle the industry standards, your traditional bituminous and torch-applied membranes. Everyone does that. But where they really stand out is in the more advanced materials. They mention high-performance synthetic membranes, things like PVC, TPO, and EPDM.
Whoa, hold on. You just fired off a bunch of acronyms there.
Fair enough.
If I'm a project manager, why am I picking, say, TPO over a standard sheet?
Great question. That's where the climate strategy comes in. A traditional system can get brittle, it can crack under that intense UV and heat, but TPO, that's thermoplastic polyolefin, it has amazing flexibility and heat resistance. It can handle that extreme day-night temperature swing in the desert without failing.
So it stays resilient.
It stays resilient and it creates a seamless barrier. You're adapting the material science directly to the environmental challenge.
I also saw a mention of something that sounded really interesting, liquid applied systems.
Yes, this is so important because not every building is a perfect box, right?
Right. You've got curves, joints, complex architecture.
Exactly. Think of a bridge or a modern museum. You can't just slap a sheet on that. These liquids are sprayed or rolled on and they cure into a seamless membrane that's fully bonded to the surface. It gets into every nook and cranny.
But the thing that really stood out, at least to me, was the crystalline waterproofing. That sounds different. It doesn't sound like a surface layer.
It's not, and this is a huge differentiator. Crystalline waterproofing isn't a coating you put on the concrete. It's a chemical compound you apply that actually soaks into the concrete. It penetrates the pores and reacts with moisture and minerals that are already there.
And it forms crystals.
Non-soluble crystals. So if a microcrack forms later and water tries to get in,
The crystals grow and block it. It's like the concrete is self-healing.
that's a perfect analogy. It makes the entire concrete structure dense and impermeable from the inside out. It's an integral defense.
And I saw they pair that with specialized work, things like pile head treatments and compartmental waterproofing. That sounds like deep foundational work, the kind of stuff that if you get it wrong.
You can't go back and fix it easily, not without enormous cost. Dealing with foundations, especially in places with a high water table or corrosive soil, it demands absolute precision. And compartmentalizing means if one small section does somehow fail, the water is contained. The problem doesn't spread through the entire basement. It's all about limiting risk on these massive assets.
Okay, so we've sealed the building from the ground up. But the battle doesn't stop there, does it? In the Gulf, it just moves upward to face the sun. Let's talk about thermal insulation. This is where things get really interesting for me, because we're talking about solutions designed for extreme heat.
The amount of energy used for cooling in the KSA is it's staggering. So the goal here is twofold: comfort and massive energy efficiency. If you can significantly reduce the amount of heat transferring from a 50 degrees Celsius exterior into the building,
You slash the load on the air conditioning.
you slash the load, you lower the operating costs, and you shrink the building's carbon footprint. It's an environmental mandate disguised as a building material.
So what are the workhorses here? What materials are they using to fight that heat?
It's a combination of things. First, you have high-efficiency polyurethane foam insulation. This stuff is sprayed on, and it expands to fill every single gap, creating a seamless thermal blanket. No gaps, no thermal bridges for heat to sneak through.
And what about the solid boards you often see on construction sites?
Right. That brings us to extruded polystyrene, or XPS. It's incredibly durable, has high compressive strength, and it resists moisture. That makes it perfect for things like roofs and foundations, where it's under a lot of stress.
And they also mentioned something for radiant heat, which is that intense, direct solar energy, right?
That's where reflective insulation comes in. This isn't just about thickness. It uses materials with low emissivity, basically, a shiny surface that reflects the sun's radiant energy away before it even gets a chance to be absorbed by the building.
And lastly, they mentioned EIFS. I feel like I'm learning a whole new language today.
EIFS, Exterior Insulation and Finish Systems. Think of it as a complete multi-layer winter coat for the building. It puts the insulation on the outside of the structure, which is the most effective place for it to be. And it provides the final, durable, and, aesthetically pleasing finish all in one go, so you get peak performance and it looks good.
Okay, so let's shift gears. We've talked about protecting new buildings, but what about old ones? Restoring and strengthening existing structures is a whole different ballgame. What are they doing in the realm of concrete repair?
This is where you move from construction into, really, materials engineering under stress. The first step is always crack repair. And for that, they use high-performance epoxy and polyurethane injection systems.
And is there a difference? When would you use epoxy versus polyurethane?
Yeah, a big one. You use epoxy for structural cracks. It's like a super strong glue that basically welds the concrete back together and transfers the load. Polyurethane is more for non-structural cracks or, crucially, for active leaks.
Active leaks.
Yes. In a basement, a tunnel, a water tank, polyurethane foam reacts with water and expands, sometimes up to 20 or 30 times its volume. It aggressively plugs the leak right then and there.
That's a critical distinction. Now, what about strengthening? It sounds like they're not just fixing, but upgrading.
They are. This is where the really high-tech stuff comes in, like carbon fiber reinforcement systems,
Right.
CFRP.
I've heard of this. It's like a high-tech exoskeleton for a building.
That's a perfect description. They bond these super strong, lightweight sheets of carbon fiber fabric onto beams or columns, and it dramatically increases the structure's load capacity and shear strength. It's a way to make old infrastructure meet modern demands.
And it's probably essential in areas with, say, seismic risks or just aging buildings.
Absolutely. And alongside that, they do more traditional concrete jacketing, basically encasing a column in a new layer of steel or reinforced concrete to give it more stability.
So once the structure is sound, they have to protect the surface. Protective coatings. Given their client list, I imagine these aren't just a coat of paint.
Oh, no, not at all. They're using high-performance epoxy and polyurethane coatings for durability, but they specialize them. If you're working for a company like Aramco Chemicals, you need chemical-resistant coatings that can withstand a really harsh industrial environment.
A chemical defense shield.
Exactly. And for things like parking garages or bridges, they're using heavy-duty traffic coating systems. These have to be durable, weatherproof, and slip-resistant under constant vehicle traffic. It's about protecting the investment from every possible angle.
Okay, so we've established they are highly specialized, very technologically advanced. What does that mean in the real world of the KSA market? I mean, who needs this level of expertise?
Well, you can see it reflected right in their client list. It's a who's who of Saudi Arabia's gigaprojects and major industrial players. They mention working with Red Sea Global, Aramco Chemicals, the Saudi Electricity Company.
Her names.
Huge names. Also major contractors like Nesma and Partners, and even international giants like Hyundai Engineering and Construction. They're involved in everything from tourism and energy to huge urban developments.
That list definitely proves they're operating at the top tier.
Mm.
But for me, the most surprising detail, the one that really stood out, well, isn't a client, it was an accreditation, one that seems totally out of place for a contracting company.
I think I know what you're referring to. The Cybersecurity Compliance Certificate, SCCS-002.
Yes, issued by Saudi Aramco. Why on earth does a company that pours concrete and lays membranes need to have top-tier cybersecurity?
Because modern gigaprojects run on data. Massive, massive amounts of data. You're talking about building information models, BIM files, drone surveys, logistics, scheduling, intellectual property for new designs. All of it is digital.
So if their network gets compromised,
You could disrupt a multi-billion-dollar project. You could steal sensitive designs. You could even potentially interfere with operational tech on a critical site.
so getting that SACS-002 certificate, which is usually for tech firms, is a signal. It signals that they can be trusted not just with concrete and steel, but with sensitive digital assets in the highest security environments.
It connects back perfectly to those two pillars. Integrity today isn't just about ethical sourcing, it's about digital security. It proves they are a secure, trusted partner for the nation's most important projects.
Wow. It's a completely closed loop of credibility, isn't it? The product is certified, the application is specialized, and the data around the entire process is secure. This has been really fascinating. We started with what looked like a simple company brochure, and we've ended up at this intersection of, I don't know, chemical engineering, structural mechanics, and high-level cybersecurity.
It's a great summary. They're defined by that fusion.
And I think that brings us to the final thought we want to leave you with.
Right, and it's this. The fact that this level of technological sophistication, we're talking crystalline waterproofing, carbon fiber, advanced polymers, the fact that this must be paired with rigorous cybersecurity, it suggests that what excellence means in construction has fundamentally changed. It's no longer just about building bigger or faster. Modern durable infrastructure is now a seamless fusion of material science, environmental science, and digital security. The real test of strength is how tightly those three things are locked together.
A really powerful thought. We've explored where they are now, and the sources end with a promise. Coming soon, the next chapter of innovation and craftsmanship we'll be watching. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.